Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Jackie Mitchell. This is where we pick the best brains in the business world and you, the listener, feel like you are eavesdropping on a really interesting coffee conversation to give you and your business the inside edge. We take a look into the business mindsets of leaders and brands and probe into how they think, feel, learn, manage teams and themselves. We love sharing the knowledge and serve brain food to keep your business mind healthy. To continue the conversation, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Our next guest is a futurist, sought-after conference speaker, author and consultant who gives you a glimpse into what's ahead and how you can become fit for the future in your professional and personal life. Forbes magazine rated him the number 5 social media influencer in the world in his area of expertise. He has just written his 12th book. That's right, you heard me, 12th book, Disruption by Design. Welcome to the show, Gihan Pereira.
Thanks very much, Jackie. Great to be here.
Really good to have you here. Now, your 12th book, where do you find the time and energy to do all this writing?
I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yes.
But yeah, look, I really enjoy writing. I really enjoy getting my ideas out there. And quite often it's speaking, sometimes it's training, but I really enjoy writing as well.
Yeah. Have you always been a writer, like from when you were young?
Well, I come from a family who's been very good at writing and acting. My mother was an actress. My 2 sisters are teachers. One of them's an English teacher. So, yeah, maybe I've got it in my genes, Jackie.
I think it's certainly there because that's a great achievement in your 12th book, Disruption by Design. Now, tell me, how did you come up with that title?
Well, see, the thing is that lots of people are talking to me about disruption and they're saying our business is going to be disrupted, our industry is going to be disrupted. And a lot of people seem to have the view that there's nothing they can do about it. They just have to wait and eventually disruption is going to hit them. And I don't think that has to be the case. You don't have to be a complete disruptor for your industry, but you do have to disrupt yourself in business. And most businesses, especially the businesses that have been around for a while, they get caught up in what's worked for them in the past. So they don't innovate enough based on future customers, future problems, the way the world is changing. And so what happens is somebody else comes along and disrupts their business and their industry. Everyone talks about Uber and what it's done to the taxi industry, but it's a perfect example because the taxi industry has worked the way it's always worked and hasn't really had much incentive to change. And then Uber comes along, and most of the things that Uber does, the taxi industry could have done, but chose not to do. And so Uber disrupted the taxi industry. And if you want to innovate and you want to not be disrupted, then what you've got to do is be like those startups who are coming in and looking at the world now and solving the problems that customers have now. So it's kind of like disrupting yourself. So in fact, earlier version of the book, I was going to call it Disrupt Yourself, and then I found there are a couple of other books out there already with that name. So I renamed it Disruption by Design, and I think that's actually a better name because you're disrupting yourself and you're doing it by design rather than waiting for somebody else to come and do it to you.
Yeah, by default or design, it's going to happen. So design's always going to be the preferable path, I'd imagine.
Absolutely.
Do you think that the word disruption has replaced innovation in business?
Yeah, exactly. I think they're exactly the same thing. It's disruption when it happens to you. It's innovation when you do it yourself. So really, this is a book about innovation because innovation doesn't mean you have to invent the new iPhone. Innovation means finding new ways to solve customer problems, so understanding what problems there are out there in the world and understanding and finding ways you can solve those problems. And lots of businesses have forgotten their customers. So they started off with the right intent, but then they built their products and services and systems and processes and fell in love with those and forgot about their customers and their real problems. And what's typically happened is that customers have changed. We know this, that our world is changing really fast, and that means that customers are changing really fast as well. And if you have been tracking your customers, great. But if you haven't, then you're in trouble. So I think one of the best examples of this, Jackie, is Netflix. So Netflix provides high-quality movies in the home for people. Now, it started off, it's now one of the biggest streaming companies in the world, online media streaming, but it starts as a DVD rental company. and they knew that they were competing with Blockbuster. And the problem that Blockbuster customers had was they liked renting movies, but they didn't like returning them. So Netflix solved that problem by providing a return service. So you could rent movies from Netflix, and then you could, in a post pack. And that worked really well. And then what happened was the industry changed and technology changed, so that broadband internet became really good. And Netflix said, there's now a new way to solve the customer's problems with new technology. So they gave up their physical DVD delivery business, and they went into online streaming. And so then they were solving the same problem, getting movies into people's homes, but in a different way. And then so the movie companies initially were really happy with Netflix because it was another way for them to license their content. But then they became a bit wary because they saw Netflix as a real competitor to them. So they stopped licensing it. So Netflix now had their own problem. They still want to provide high-quality movies, but they weren't getting the content. So they created their own movie studio. And again, what they were doing was looking at what's the problem that the customer wants solved and how can we solve it. And they went through all these transformations because they didn't stick to what they thought would work really well, like at the start. They didn't try to do better DVD delivery. They looked at what's the problem that we can solve for our customers. And that's really what innovation's about. It's about looking at your customers, their problems, and how do we solve them.
Yeah, that's a great example. Now, with the terrible story recently of Thomas Cook, what are your views on that? Why do you think they failed?
Yeah, so without going into any specific business, this is one of those industries, the travel industry, that like many others, it is an industry where the power has shifted, and it's shifted from the business or the industry to their customers. So it used to be, and I remember the days, Jackie, when if you wanted to book some travel, you had to go to a travel agent. This is pre-internet, pre-web, because you couldn't get the information anywhere else. You could ring up the airlines, but you'd be on hold for an hour. You could ring up hotels, but you'd have to find where they were, and it's not easy to do that. So you'd go to a travel agent, because a travel agent would have access to all the information to be able to provide that service to you. And that's changed now. So now customers have the information, and they come into a travel agent with their itinerary sometimes planned out, and they know exactly where they want to go. They just go to the travel agent maybe to get a better deal from them. And this is not just in travel, but it's in many industries as well. Car sales. It used to be that if you go to when you want to buy a new car, you go to the dealer, and the dealer had all the power because they had all the information. So recently we bought a car for my stepson, and we went in with all the information. So we did the online search first. We found the sort of car he wanted. We had a look at what it would be worth and what a second-hand version of the car would be worth. We could look at exactly how much it would cost if we were going to finance it. So we went into the dealership with all the information. And this is what's changed now. There's so many industries and businesses that used to have power because they had information, and now they don't anymore. And it doesn't mean that they have to go out of business. It just means that they haven't understood the shift in power now. So the customers come in with the information, so you have to partner with them to provide the solution rather than being the one who has all the information and can be an advisor to them.
Yeah, so disrupting yourself is a great strategy, but let's take it back a bit. What are some advice that you could give entrepreneurs or business owners as to how to stay ahead of the game? So rather than wait to be a Thomas Cook and it's been around a long time and all of a sudden the business has collapsed, what are some of the techniques or tips of keeping ahead of the game?
Yeah, sure. So I think a really important thing to do is if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a leader and you're an experienced leader, just be careful, because your expertise that's got you to where you are now isn't necessarily what's going to be taking you into the future. So one of the most important things that you can do is listen. So listen to your customers, listen to your team members, listen to other stakeholders, so that you can find out what's actually going to take you into the future. And I reckon one of the best things you can do is listen to people in your organization, even the really junior people. So in the book, I talk about mentoring, which is really good. It's something you should do. It's actually, you should share your experience with other people, but there's also reverse mentoring. And reverse mentoring is the idea that instead of you, the more senior person, mentoring the junior people, do it the other way around. So one of my clients, who was the CEO of a law firm, she just retired, she used to do this. So she would, every 3 months, she would choose somebody or ask somebody, a younger, to mentor her. Now, younger in one of three ways. Either they were actually younger in terms of age, or they were younger in terms of how much experience they had in law, or they were younger in the firm. So that was a new recruit, could have been at any level. But Janet would go to that person, and for the next 3 months, every week or so, they'd have a coffee together, and Janet would be the person being mentored. Now, she was really experienced. She was the CEO of this firm, but she was smart enough to realize that here are other people who had different expertise, different perspectives about how the firm should run. And she would just be there. She would give the person permission to give any sort of suggestions, advice, experience, and then she would be the one who was learning from it. Just one example of being a really good listener.
Yeah, that's a great tip and great advice for anyone listening, is that reverse mentoring, because you're not over-investing your resources. But the other thing too is that it's tapping into the generational shift. So it's not sticking in your lane as far as your generation is concerned. It's actually really engaging and getting an understanding of the millennials, which do think differently than other generations before, and they are the future. So I think that's really, really, really good tip.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. And the other thing I think about those generations, and you're exactly right, is that somebody said to me, I heard a speaker say recently, nobody likes change. We all hate change, but we have to go through it. And I don't think that's true. There are some people who like change, the millennials, Gen Y, and of course, they love change. They embrace change. They're bored if change isn't happening. And why aren't we looking at them to be our teachers as we're going into the future? They're the ones who actually are looking forward to change. And everyone's saying the world's changing too fast, and it's changing too fast for us. We don't know what to do. Well, there are people in your team, in your business, who actually do know what to do. But maybe you're not taking advantage of them because you're just seeing them as really junior people who don't have a lot of experience, they don't have a lot of insights, they don't have a lot of wisdom. And some of that might be true, but they've also got other things that you may not be tapping into.
Yeah, look, that's a really nice way to finish. Now, if people want to find out more about you and your ideas, where would they go searching?
Look, I reckon the best place to do it is to start by going to disruptionbydesign.com.au.
Okay, that's good. And you're on Twitter and you're on LinkedIn. Your book, Disruption by Design, Leading the Change in a Fast-Changing World. Do you think it's the fastest the world's ever been from a business perspective, or is it just a moment in time?
No, it's definitely the fastest. I had another speaker say recently something which I don't think is, it sounds clever, but it's not really that profound. He said as a change has never been as fast as it is now, and it will never be as slow again as it is now. And that's true. But what's changed is that in the past, the change was happening slow enough for us to be able to adapt to it. And so we would go through, like literally humans would go through many generations, like 3 generations, and in a century. And in that century, there wouldn't be a huge amount of change. It's still happening faster than before, but now we're going through that kind of change in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And so we need to be able to adapt without, in a way that we've never had to before. So that's the biggest change that's happened, Jackie. And it means that businesses used to be able to succeed by building on what they've done in the past. And that's just not the case anymore. Now what you've done in the past might be holding you back from success in the future. And that's what disruption is really all about. It's you being able to change faster than the world's changing around you.
That's a nice way to finish. Gihan Pereira, thank you so much for your foresight, insight and time today.
Thanks so much, Jackie. My pleasure.
Thank you. We love picking the best brains in the business world here on Taking Care of Business. That's the end of another stimulating show. We hope you've enjoyed eavesdropping on our conversation, picked up some tips, learned something new, or at the very least feel inspired. We look forward to your company next Friday. In the meantime, keep taking care of your business mindset.